Hi, everybody. It's Joy and Steve, and we are back for our weekly update. We didn't do an update last week because there were a lot of things that were going on, and we didn't want to do a weekly update without having some more information and facts to share with our supporters and followers. And this weekly update is going to be a difficult one. We found out some things last week that we want to share with you in a very transparent way. It has been so difficult this last week to find out some things that we weren't aware of. And Steve is going to outline those, but I want to just give a little overview of what happened last week. Overture put out a post about our relationship with GLA, and we want to address some of those things that were said in that post. So, first of all, the first thing we want to address is the children
Mm.
and the stories or the conflict that we have heard. So, Steve, let's start there and then we'll go into what some of the things the post said.
Mm. Yeah, well, thank you, Joy. And you're right. It's been an interesting, difficult journey of trying to just find what's really going on. And I'm glad that all you as listeners can sort of tune in and just we want you to know with our heart and passion for, the kids. The kids are number one, and that their needs are met. And over the last couple of months, we've really been focusing on starting NICU and relaunching that. However, as deep in that passion as doing the NICU is this passion for the kids. So, in discovering and being made aware that are that they would not accept funds from us.
Wait a
Um,
minute. Who's
o-
they? Who's they?
okay, good point. Overture. So, in Overture's post last week, unaware to us, over the last quarter of last year, we had been waiting on invoices and thinking that we'll be getting those invoices, and obviously the funds that were collected specifically for kids, not for NICU, would be going to the kids. And as of last week, we were made aware due to the investigation that IBSR has with us in the history that I think many of you know about. They would not accept funds from us, and this is why they haven't given us invoices over the last couple months.
Have you reached out to them in the last few months?
I have over the last couple months. So again, with the idea that we had a lot of attention on NICU, however, I was concerned that the kids are still being taken care of. I had reached out to them numerous times through the end of third quarter, had some connection with them in the end of third quarter where two things. Number one, I was told invoices will be coming our way for the support. And number two, that even through the time of catching those invoices up, it was very clearly communicated to me that the kids would be taken care of, their needs would be met, and everything would continue going on even while we work through catching up on the invoices. So when I didn't get an invoice in towards later on in the year, I think by October, I started reaching out back to them and saying, hey, what's going on? I'd like to speak to you with no response back. So that was beginning October through the end of the year.
So, we're in a situation where this post came out and the allegation was made that we haven't been supporting, and we found out that they could not accept the funds that we wanted to provide. In addition to that, um, individuals came to the GLA, to you and the GLA board, stating that the children are not being taken care of. Do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, I want to. And one thing I failed, I almost jumped into this earlier because I'm so, I had so much anxiety for the kids. I am concerned that the kids' needs are being met. And one thing I failed to say, Joy, just a minute ago was last week when this was made aware to us, or when we were informed of this, I became very urgent with reaching out to Overture. And so last week they did respond after that post was put in direct communication to me with again the confirmation that all the needs of the kids are being met. And so we don't need to do anything further. So I do want to note that because that was directly noted again last week.
So a question might come up of, well, why haven't we been more on top of this? Or why haven't we been aware of this beforehand? So can you speak to that?
Yeah, for sure. I think again, in most of you as our sponsors and our followers know a little bit of the history with IBSR. We're working through an investigation with them. So in that investigation, while that's going on, they have been very clear in mandating that no GLA personnel would have any kind of connection or contact directly to the kids. And so we were relying completely on Overture and their responses, which I noted a minute ago, that the kids' needs are being met. Because under that mandate, the last thing I want to do or feel good about doing is violating, the government of Haiti and their agencies, their social services of saying we have this mandate that you need to abide by. So we've been really careful to stay with that.
So the situation that we find ourselves in now is one organization is telling us that their children's needs are being met and we don't need to worry about it, and they will not accept funds from us while we're under investigation. The flip side of that is individuals have brought to the board's attention that the kids' needs aren't being met and they are not being cared for.
Mm.
So that's where we found ourselves at the end of last week. So, what has the board talked about? Have you had a board meeting? What has the board talked about? How do we move forward from this situation?
Yeah, absolutely. To your note, more than just verbiage, obviously we saw some pictures, we saw some videos um, of people that are saying, "Listen," and this organization that's saying, "Listen, there is needs that are not being met," and so that stirred a really deep passion in my heart, and I know it did the rest of the board. So we did have a board meeting, and we walked through like how do we handle this. Again, to your note, Joy, Overture telling us the needs are being met, quite obviously on from pictures and what we're hearing, at least not all of them are being met. So what we pledge to do is two things. Number one, we are going to move forward with trying to find a solution with the individuals that can have contact with the kids of making sure those needs get met. And we haven't figured out all how to do that yet, but bottom line is I know myself, Joy, I know you share this passion. And I know the board is deeply committed to this of finding a solution to make sure that the kids' needs are met medically, education wise, all of the above. So that's number one. Number two is in the end of February, February the 17th, actually, I already have plans to fly down and I plan to go to Haiti and myself. But even before I go down, as of today, our doctor on staff, our licensed doctor on staff, Hans, who's a Haitian living in Kais, he's going to be trying to get back in touch with the IBSR office in La Kais. As most of you guys know as our followers, Port-au-Prince is really difficult. So we really need to focus on what we can do in Lakai. But then I'll be going down later on in February, and we're going to try to do everything we can in really researching what the needs are and making sure what we're hearing is valid. To be honest, without, and I want to say this very clearly, without violating those restrictions that IBSR has done because or has given us to abide by through this investigation because I'm really conscious of being respectful and staying in that mandate they've given us so that we can work through the investigation and be on really good terms again with Haiti Social Services.
Well, and I think this is a time too where we really need prayer
Mm,
support.
for sure.
We This is the most difficult, taking into consideration everything that's going on in Haiti and the year that it's been. Um, the one thing we want to do is serve the Haitian people. And to hear this type of distressing information and and believing that the children are being cared for. Um, it's time that we take an active,
Mhm.
proactive approach. I think going down is to Haiti, and this will be your third visit in 6 months.
Correct. Yeah, and I agree with that. You know, as you noted, and I know I noted this a little bit ago, but last week was really difficult, um, because my trust was somewhat shattered in feeling like the kids are all safe and sound and being taken care of very well. And we don't know. It could easily be that some of them are, but it feels like some of them are not. And so, as you noted, we want to serve the Haitian people and desperately want to make sure that these kids that have been in our care before, even though they're the responsibility of IBSR from a social legal perspective, we've taken personal responsibility of them in the years gone by. And you, as sponsors, you've been there with us through that. So somehow we're going to have to navigate through to make sure that these kids, that their needs are being met for sure.
So, just to wrap this up, the approach is from the board's perspective is um, our our doctor Hans is going to go to IBSR today and open up communication with that office. We are looking for a solution for kids that are, if their needs are not being met, what we can do. You're going back down in February, and we're praying that the doors will be open so we can find out what is
Mm.
actually going on. We welcome questions that you have. We're going to try to be as forthcoming as we can. We're letting you know um, as we're learning information, and most importantly, we're asking for your prayers because this is extremely difficult for everybody, for the Haitian team, for the board, for the team here to be able to care for these kids in the manner that we had hoped for.
Yeah, I like how you said that, Joy. Absolutely. You know, God is bigger than us. God knows things we don't know, and we really, really need Him to really show us clearly because um, our the needs of the kids need to be met, and so we need you guys' prayer. I would just beg you, just join us in prayer of saying, God, show us how to take care of these kids in a way that their needs are being met.
Um, we're not sure when our next weekly update is going to be. We're waiting to hear back for some people. Of course, there's ongoing meetings to deal with this situation. But don't be afraid to reach out because um, now now is the time we need us to come together and be united um, in dealing with these challenges.
Yeah, I second that. Just feel free to reach out with questions, thoughts. We want to be as transparent as we can walking through this.
All right. Thank you so much. Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Joey.